At 16, Kunta Kinte harbors a profound infatuation for Jenna. Amidst a village celebration, a mysterious character drops a hat, a traditional signal for romantic interest, in front of her, sparking tension. Kunta's impulse to confront the interloper is quelled by his parents. Unexpectedly, he is whisked away to the jungle, where he discovers the abduction is part of a customary rite for young boys to undergo rigorous training as warriors. Mastering skills like horseback riding and javelin throwing, Kunta transforms during this time. Upon returning home, his mother acknowledges his newfound maturity. Determined to pursue Jenna, Kunta faces a threat from the Belle Clan, longstanding adversaries of the Kinte family. Despite Kunta's resistance, the clan, eschewing ransom, sells him to European slave traders, abruptly altering the trajectory of his life. The boy finds himself abruptly confined, chained aboard a squalid English ship. Forced by the Englishmen to partake in eating and dancing for strength, Kunta discovers Jenna alongside him. Witnessing her desperate attempt to escape, Kunta devises a plan to seize weapons and take control of the ship. Language barriers with the white crew led to covert communication among the slaves through altered African song lyrics. Despite their efforts, the mutiny falters against superior British weaponry. After enduring 87 days at sea, the ship docks in Virginia, where Kunta is sold into slavery. Transported to the Waller farm, owned by John and Elizabeth Waller, Kunta faces the influence of John's indebted brother, William. Under the watchful eye of the harsh overseer Connolly, who relishes doling out punishments, Kunta's attempt to escape leads to the appointment of Fiddler, an older slave with musical skills, as his temporary guardian. Once the white overseers depart, Fiddler imparts the importance of avoiding trouble to Kunta. Urged to forsake his African roots immediately, Kunta's resistance is shielded by Elizabeth's partial protection of Fiddler, as her enjoyment of music hinges on his well-being. Connolly, resentful, repeatedly attempts to undermine Fiddler. To control Kunta, Connolly designates Fiddler as his supervisor, sensing the boy's resilience. Despite 4 months passing, Kunta adamantly refuses to respond to the assigned name, Toby. Connolly exploits this, threatening Fiddler with personal punishment unless Kunta accepts his slave name. Aware of Elizabeth's potential reaction, Fiddler cautions Connolly, who remains oblivious to Kunta's covert actions. Seizing an opportunity, Kunta hides beneath a carriage, feigning fear, and acquires a concealed file. That night, Fiddler advises Kunta to conform, but hears him humming a familiar African tune. Acknowledging the resurgence of memories from his past, Kunta confides in Fiddler about the song his grandmother sang in Africa, revealing the resurfacing of suppressed emotions. Instructed to reform Kunta, the tables turn as Kunta subtly transforms Fiddler. Months later, Kunta, determined to find freedom, inquires about the direction north. Fiddler, wary of the dangers, warns of relentless pursuers on the roads. Christmas, a respite from these threats, becomes the target for Kunta's escape plan. Fiddler, despite the impending punishment, decides to assist. At the Christmas party, Kunta seizes the moment when Fiddler signals with an African song, indicating the overseer's absence. Escaping on Elizabeth's prized horse, Kunta's flight is short-lived as Connolly discovers the breach. Pursued all night, Kunta is captured by dogs. Connolly falsely accuses Fiddler, leading to John selling the musician. However, William intervenes, purchasing Fiddler to appease Elizabeth. Over the next decade, Kunta plots another escape. The Revolutionary War provides the chaos needed, and amidst the turmoil, Kunta seizes the opportunity to end Connolly's life and aligns with the Redcoats against the Americans. Initially promised freedom, Kunta discovers the Englishmen's mistreatment of Africans, refusing to arm them with proper guns and equipping them with spiked weapons instead. The enslaved Africans, risking their lives, faced European threats of execution for disobedience. Determined to fight for his cause, Kunta finds himself caught between warring groups and recaptured by Waller's men. The ensuing punishment is harsher, and his recovery is prolonged. Waking up in a different location, Kunta realizes Fiddler has also been sold to William Waller by John. Cared for by Belle, William's wife, who tends to him during the doctor's frequent absences, life becomes marginally more bearable for the slaves. Tragedy befalls Belle's pregnant friend, forced to work in the fields, and succumbs during childbirth. William names the newborn Noah. Weeks later, Kunta, aided by Fiddler's musical talents and advice, shyly proposes to Belle, marking a significant moment in his life. Surprising everyone, Kunta and Belle's wedding is simple yet joyful, featuring an African tradition where they leap over a broom together. Unfamiliar with this practice, Kunta learns from Fiddler that Africa's vastness harbors diverse traditions. The celebration halts when news arrives, demanding Kunta's immediate presence at the Waller estate, where Elizabeth is giving birth to a baby girl named Missy. 9 months later, Belle and Kunta welcome their daughter, Kizzie. Following a family tradition, Kunta takes Kizzie to a serene spot to introduce her to the night sky. Their idyllic moment is shattered when militiamen demand money, threatening to take the baby. Fiddler sacrifices himself to protect them, leaving Kunta devastated. 6 years later, Noah learns horseback riding, and despite disapproval, Missy and Kizzie form a forbidden friendship. Missy, secretly literate, aims to teach Kizzie, aware that revealing their learning could lead to severe consequences for an illiterate slave. Their unconventional friendship persists for 9 more years, flourishing on Kizzie's 15th birthday when Missy gifts her a special box for her secret journals. As Noah reaches adulthood, William, eager for more slaves, prompts Kunta to control his fury. When William is out of sight, Kunta subtly conveys his disapproval to Noah, who shares a strong chemistry with Kizzie. Unaware of their growing relationship, Kunta is shocked one day to discover a more unsettling secret. Kizzie has been teaching Noah to read, a skill Kunta believed only he and Missy knew about. Furious, Kunta confronts Kizzie, who fearlessly asserts that reading brings internal freedom and is her path to becoming a warrior. When a sudden hurricane hits the plantation, providing a diversion, Noah seizes the opportunity to escape. Despite a swift search, the armed men and their dogs capture Noah, leaving Kizzie devastated, foreshadowing even more heartbreak. However, Missy, angered by the trouble, remains indifferent to Kizzie's plight, having never considered her more than a servant. Despite Kunta and Baylor's desperation, they are powerless, and Kizzie is forcibly taken to North Carolina and sold to a cruel man named Tom Leah. Upon arrival, Kizzie endures Tom Leah's assault, leading to the birth of her illegitimate son, George, 10 years later. Kizzie's life is defined by relentless toil, George's upbringing, and Tom Leah's dreadful visits. Obsessed with cockfights, George, ignorant of his parentage, relentlessly pesters Mingo, a slave skilled in training gamecocks, to become his apprentice. Tom Leah boasts about acquiring the farm through cockfight winnings, but also admits to losing substantial sums in the same manner, reflecting the complex and challenging dynamics in their lives. Patricia, Tom Leah's wife, dreads upscale gatherings, grateful that their affluent neighbors rarely extend invitations due to their humble origins. Tom resents this exclusion. Over 12 years, George, Tom's son, becomes a skilled bird trainer, eventually surpassing Mango. Renowned as the famous Chicken George, he captivates audiences and entices wealthy individuals to place higher bets. During one fight, an encounter with an opponent named Marcellus reveals a new concept to George: freedom. Marcellus, a free man, saved diligently to buy his liberty, sparking George's desire to do the same for himself and his mother, Kizzie. Meanwhile, Tom Leah encounters Mr. Jewett, a wealthy man seeking to purchase George. Rejecting the offer, Tom accepts an invitation to Easter celebrations, unaware of the impending consequences, leading to unforeseen challenges. Anticipating Tom and Patricia's disdainful reception in high society, Mr. Jewett orchestrates a scenario where Tom's humiliation leads to a violent duel. Tom emerges victorious but barely survives, revealing to George a revelation about their relationship during his recovery. The revelation intensifies George's determination to secure their freedom from this monstrous man. However, complicating matters, George commits to a family with Matilda, making his goal of purchasing freedom more challenging. To amass funds, George capitalizes on cockfight opportunities, leading them to a high-stakes event in Charleston. Astonished by Leah's audacious $10,000 bet, George questions how he'll procure the funds. Leah, confident in his plan, offers George a deal freedom if his bird wins the fight, even formalizing the promise in writing. Now, it's up to Chicken George to employ his skills and ensure victory in this high-stakes gamble. The victorious match grants George freedom, but Tom Leah's insatiable greed surfaces. Agreeing to a rematch with the Englishman, this time at a staggering $20,000, they lose, and Leah discloses 2 crucial details. The farm's value is diminished due to substantial debt, and George isn't truly free until the papers are registered with the county. Conveniently, the Englishman offers Leah a way out, leading to a heart-wrenching betrayal. George is callously given away without a chance to bid farewell to Matilda and their 7 children. After 2 decades, he returns to find Kizzie has passed away, and Tom Leah has sold most of the family to Ben Murray. Reunited with his son Fred, there's a poignant delay before Matilda recognizes her long-lost husband. The family's emotional reunion unfolds, with some of George's children now having families of their own. Tom, a skilled blacksmith, is often away from the farm, leaving George to encounter Irene, Tom's wife, expecting their first child. Upon Tom's return, his reception is less than joyous. George attempts reconciliation, but Tom's image as the fame-seeking Chicken George prevails. Meanwhile, Fred, another son, discovers a legal loophole forcing free slaves to leave North Carolina within 90 days. Panicked, Matilda urges George to depart immediately. As the Civil War erupts, George joins the Memphis Colored Battery, and Fred, now a major, is engaged to the deceptive Miss Nancy, a Union spy. Nancy's death reveals her slave Jerusalem as Charles, possessing remarkable hearing. Attempts to involve Tom fail due to fear, but circumstances change when the Confederates attack. Tom and Charles stage an impromptu encounter, strategizing an ambush to secure crucial documents. However, Fred's premature arrival poses a risk, jeopardizing the secrecy of Charles and their mission. In a tense confrontation, Fred confronts Nancy, offering her a chance to save herself by revealing the other person in the ambush. Nancy insists it was only Charles, refusing to betray Tom. Fred, unwilling to spare Tom, orders the immediate execution of both Charles and Nancy. In the aftermath of the war, the former slaves at Murray's farm rejoice in their newfound freedom. However, their jubilation is short-lived when Ben Murray arrives with disappointing news of meager wages. This revelation forces George's children to confront the stark reality that societal imbalances persist even in their liberated state. Witnessing George's post-war metamorphosis, Tom embarks on a journey to locate him at the Tennessee border, ultimately bringing him back home. United, the family decides to abandon the plantation, forging a new path by establishing businesses in the North. Although Ben accepts their departure, Fred endeavors to obstruct those using baseless laws, resulting in escalating tensions. A crucial turning point occurs as George's swift actions prevent an impending tragedy, solidifying a defining moment for the Kinte family.